Welcome to the Rialto Marketing Podcast. Today's episode is a revenue acceleration series interview where we talk to seven-figure B2B professional service firms that are actively trying to grow their business and get to the next level. We talk about the good, bad, and the ugly so you can learn from their experience. Hi, I am Tim Fitzpatrick with Rialto Marketing, where we believe you've got to remove your revenue roadblocks if you want to accelerate growth. I want to thank you so much for taking the time to tune in. I am super excited to have with me today Craig Pollock from FPA Technology Services. Craig, welcome and thanks for being here.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Tim. I'm looking forward to this.
Yes, me too. I always learn things through these interviews. So I know people that are watching and listening will as well. You got a ton of experience to share. Before we jump into that, I want to ask you a few rapid fire questions. Are you good to go, Craig?
Hit me.
Okay.
I'm ready. Let's do it.
So very quickly, what do you do? How long have you been doing it?
Okay. Well, I am the founder and CEO of FPA Technology Services. Basically, we act as an outsourced IT department for small to mid-sized businesses. The unique thing about us is we're very boutique, very hands-on, very client relationship-driven professional services firm. What we like to say is we're a Nordstrom in a sea of Walmarts.
I love it. What's the most important lesson you've learned in running your business?
Wow. Probably the most important lesson is really, getting along with people. Initially, and I've been doing this for a while. I started the firm in 91, so we're going on 32 years now. I like to say I started it when I was 9, but I'd be lying. But a lot of things have changed since then, right? I mean, at that point in time, there was no email, there was no internet. Right. You could have a color monitor, any color you wanted, as long as it was orange or green.
Yes.
So getting back to your question, long-winded answer. The thing that I've learned is really getting along with people, communicating, figuring out how to interact with people. Initially it was really all about the technical and delivering solutions and whatnot. But the more you grow and bring people onto your team and your team grows, it's all about the people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So in 30 plus years, you had to have run into roadblocks, hurdles, right? We know growing a business is not always easy. When you hit those roadblocks, do you have any kind of mantra or saying or anything that you tell yourself, share with your team to kind of help push through those times?
Yeah, I mean, it's probably two things. Individually, I actually have a little stone. I don't see it here, but I have this little stone that has the Chinese character for patience etched in it, and I carry that around to remind me. And I think a lot of entrepreneurs have that, right? It's like you want to get everything done all at the same time. You just want to get it done, right? And I've had to learn patience. Yeah, I think that's one of the most important things. I mean, for our specific industry, what I do communicate with the team is, IT is not easy. It's not an easy career, right?
Yeah.
Like, people don't call you up and say, "Hey, everything's working. Just wanted to let you know."
Right. Yeah.
Right. They only call when they're upset and things aren't working. So,
Yes.
It's not for the faint of heart, right?
Yeah.
So that's more. We run into more issues around the technical than the people, than the relationships, right?
I think patience is such I really like that because I think as humans, we're so wired to want, short-term gratification, like immediately.
Mm-hmm.
But man, it's a marathon, not a sprint. And we really need to keep in mind that making long-term decisions is really, really important because very rarely do I ever see short-term decisions. Very rarely are they good things for a business long-term.
Mm-hmm.
So I I love the fact that you focus on patience. That's something I need to work on myself.
Yeah, it's a lifelong pursuit, let me tell you.
Yeah, you're never done. Yeah, you're never done. Uh, one of the things we talked about in the pre-interview before the today was that you've had in-house marketing people, you've outsourced marketing. Um, what have you? Tell me a little bit about what your team looks like today, and what have you found have been kind of the pluses and minuses to both sides of that?
Yeah. Well, I think, we've gone through a lot of different iterations in terms of marketing and sales, right? And
Yeah,
and certainly the industry has morphed over the years, a lot of different changes. Again, 30 plus years, a lot of things have changed, a lot of things have come and gone. Um, and so we've outsourced, we've insourced, if that's a word. We've
yeah,
hired people, we've outsourced. I think at this point, I'm really, one of the things that I've learned is you can't say yes to everything, right? And especially you can't say yes to every prospect, every opportunity that you get, because oftentimes they're not, at least for what we do, we're so driven by our client relationships that it's really about finding the right partners to work with, the right clients.
yeah,
And so from a marketing perspective, I think one of the big takeaways um, is not going after everything, right?
yeah,
Every marketer will tell you, find your niche, find your unique selling proposition, find
yeah,
your unique client profile, and target.
yeah,
And I think, when you're younger and when you're just trying to get revenue, you don't look at the quality of those dollars. You just look at, hey, a dollar here is great, right?
yeah.
Until you realize it costs you $1.25 to service it, right?
Right.
Uh, so I think that, what I've tried to do over the years is pick up bits and pieces and learn from every I don't want to say every failure, but every endeavor in terms of marketing that didn't quite work out. What
Yeah,
what can I learn from
yeah,
that? Fortunately or unfortunately, and we can go really deep on this, but I'm a fairly technical person. So, right, I mean, my background, I have a degree in computer science. I started as an application developer. So tools come fairly easy to me, right?
yeah,
Software comes easy to me. And so, and knowing the industry obviously comes easy to me. So when I'm dealing with outsourced or various people, um, it's really it's I come to find that the amount of time that it takes for me to manage whoever that is or whatever that entity is, it's almost the same for me to just do it, because once I have the tools down and once I've implemented, whatever automation I can do,
right.
the reality is, for me to proof somebody else writing a blog is about the same amount of time as it takes me to write a blog. Crazy, but I can
God.
whip out a blog in a half an hour, right?
Yeah,
And and the end result is I get it done quicker, faster, and out, in front of the public faster.
yeah,
The downside is that's still time I'm spending doing something else,
yeah,
right? Rather than my what we like to say habu, right? Highest and best use. What
yeah,
should I be doing?
yeah,
Probably not marketing, but I'm sort of at this crossroad of how do I let go of something that I'm fairly efficient at.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. It's one, and that changes as the business grows, right? Sometimes,
100%. Right.
you know, it's interesting you touch on this, because it's very common for people to
Hmm.
feel like, God, I'm spending more time managing these people than I would if I just did it myself, right?
Right.
Um, have you is that one of the main drivers that's like, hey, I'm going to outsource this, and then you outsource it and you just realize, like, man, this isn't working, right?
Um, yeah. I mean, that's ultimately what I think. Um, what I've come to realize, at least in our world, in our again, Nordstrom versus Walmart, right?
Yes.
Is being so super targeted that I think a lot of sort of the standard methodologies of, well, let's just get you in front of as many people as possible ends up not being as successful as let's be super super targeted and get you
Yeah.
in 5 people and then you close 2,
Yeah.
right? Like, as opposed to, okay, let's wade through 20 and maybe I'll close 1,
Yeah.
right? And so I think that especially in our market, and everybody in the world always says, it doesn't matter what your market is, but if you're doing what we do in a smaller market, you have different amount and levels of competition.
Yeah.
In Los Angeles, I probably have 3, 4, 500 competitors here, right? I
Yeah.
mean, at the same time, LA County is 11 million people, so
Right.
yeah, it's a big barrel of
Yeah.
fish, right? So it's trying to figure out that balance. Yeah, the balance between going specific versus you know I tend to think about marketing the difference to me, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, but at least mentally in the way I look at it is marketing is like fishing with a net and sales is like fishing with a fishing pole, right? Like you want to get all of these fish with your net, but you still have to wait out, which are the right ones, as opposed to, hey, I caught a fish, great, it's done.
Yeah, you do. But like you touched on, the the narrower and the more defined
Mm-hmm.
your ideal clients are, the easier it becomes to, rather than casting a super wide net, you're casting a very narrow net. And look, for the fishing analogy, sometimes you cast out a net and you catch different fish, right?
Mm-hmm. Right.
But it's more about making sure that you're fishing in the spots where most of your fish hang out,
Exactly. Right.
right? And
Right.
when it's very clear, it becomes much easier to identify, do I need to fish in this pond or that pond?
Right.
um you
And,
know
and to
so
that degree, sorry to cut you off, but to
no, it's
that
good.
degree, one of the big takeaways that I've learned throughout this process, and when I'm talking, process, I mean just our marketing and
Yeah.
figuring that out over the last X number of years, is I've really tweaked our marketing to be more about how do I position the company and how do I position myself as a subject matter expert.
Yeah.
And because we're so relationship driven, it really is about getting out there
Yeah.
and meeting people and learning about people and figuring out how to help people so that you become that go-to guy, right?
Yeah.
And that's probably the biggest tweak I've done over the last, again, X number of years is rather than, hey, we can solve your problem, look, right? It's more, here's what I do, here's some knowledge, here's some experience, here's some answers, here's information that's going to help your business. When you're ready, call us.
Yeah.
And I've gotten those sorts of calls, right? Whether it's, hey, I've been getting your emails for the last 2 or 3 years, and now we're ready to make a move,
Yeah.
right? Or something like, some of the best calls are, and literally I've gotten these, which are, hey, I hear I'm supposed to work with you guys. Really? Why is that? Well,
Yeah, great.
I called 3 of my colleagues from other companies and asked them who they're using, and they're using you guys. So I guess I should be working with you guys. Great.
It's funny you talk about people being on your list and 2-3 years down the road, they're finally ready to go, because it's such a, depending on where you hear the stat, it's somewhere between 5 to 10% of your market, your audience is ready to buy at any given point in time. So knowing that that's the case, that such a small percentage is actually ready,
Mm-hmm.
one of the huge jobs of marketing is just to stay in front of people, so that when they are ready, they think of you. Because if you're not in front of them consistently enough, they're not going to think of you. And if you're not in the top 2, maybe 3, you're not getting the business. So
Right. Well, I think not to gloss over what you said, but I definitely, as you were speaking, the word consistency came to me, right?
Yeah,
It's exactly, I want to make sure that that word pops out because that's really what it's about is consistency. And you
yeah,
just, and it's not, at least to me and the way that we approach the relationships with our clients, it's not about hitting people over the head. It's more reminding them
yeah,
that you're here and this is what you do and you're good and this is why and here you go.
yeah. So
Yeah.
what marketing activities, channels, tactics are are working well for you guys right now?
Yeah, so we do a lot of I'm really a big believer in inbound marketing,
Yeah,
and so we're on the HubSpot platform, and works great for us. And I'm just a really big believer in having information available for people, right?
yeah,
If I can help people solve their problems without having to engage us, there's value there, right?
yeah,
And it's something that I think is super valuable, right? And so we've done again, this comes back to consistency. We've done a lot of hard work and a really good job at creating a lot of evergreen content.
yeah,
And sometimes that's difficult in our industry because oftentimes topics are very timely, right?
yes,
But generally speaking, if you can write in such a way that creates blogs that are evergreen, right? They're not dated, they're not tied to any time period per se. Then you can keep reusing that content. And
yeah,
so the more content you have, the greater, the better your SEO results are, the better your social media results are. Um, so a lot of that can then be automated. So I have like 100% of my social media is automated. And every time I create a new blog, I add it to that automation. And it just, when you have 3, 4, 500 blogs of
yeah,
evergreen content, that's a lot of content that you can put in front of people's eyes that, it's going to solve somebody's problems out there.
yeah. Are you able to track um how much traffic is being driven to the site from your blog content and whether those are converting?
Mhm. Yeah, 100%. That is, again, I'm not here to sell HubSpot,
No,
but
that's okay.
right, like as a tool, and I know that there's a couple other platforms that are very similar, and right,
Yeah,
um, but the fact that it's integrated, 100% integrated between our emails, our social media, our blogs, our website, so everything is integrated to the extent that our CRM is integrated. Um, so literally, I can go to somebody's contact record and see everything about them from a virtual standing, right? What
yeah,
have you looked at? What pages? Um, it's incredibly valuable to be able to see as an example. If I send out an email, right, and I know that these 100 people went to these various pages and for instance, if somebody goes to backup or a cloud page or cybersecurity page, what have you, I
yeah,
know immediately what they're interested in, and I can talk to them about that, right?
yeah,
As opposed to being a cold, hey, we do IT, you guys need IT, hire us, right? No, it's how can I help you solve this problem, which again, as a trusted advisor, just levels us up to a whole nother level when I'm talking to them.
yeah, yeah. See, and so many people struggle with tracking the ROI on content.
Hmm.
So the fact that you have that ability within HubSpot, which is fantastic, which HubSpot, you're right. HubSpot does a really good job of making it easy for you to track all of that. Um, it gives you so much more. Certainly, data can get overwhelming for people
Yeah,
at
no,
times,
no question. Yeah.
but if you have the right data, that can help inform the decisions that you choose to make. You can make better decisions, more effective decisions. Um, and it helps give you a much better picture of like what's the journey for this particular prospect or potential client been. But it can also help you determine like how do I want to continue to interact with this person too, right?
Right.
You touched on this, like, oh, they've been on
Yeah.
these specific blog posts. Well, maybe we should reach out with some information, some additional information about this, right? To, again, just can try and build that relationship and continue the conversation.
Right. Yeah. 100%. The other thing too is at a more macro level, when you see the results, right, you can start getting an idea of, what are the topics that people are interested in, right? So
Yeah.
you can see, should I be writing more about X, or should I be writing more about Y? Where am I getting more traction? Where am I getting more interest out there, and by
Yeah.
who, right? So again, one of the nice things about, or one of the strengths I'd say about HubSpot, is being able to create personas.
Yeah.
And because we work with, fairly specific verticals, right? I mean, as an IT provider, we have probably almost any sort of client, but probably 50% of our client base are professional service firms. So we do a lot of work with investment advisors, CPAs,
Yeah.
attorneys, and insurance companies, right? Those
Yeah.
are probably the top four. But now I can target content specifically to those markets.
Yeah.
And again, when you're that targeted in your marketing, it it adds to the level, it adds to your credence, it adds to your credibility, and
Yeah.
in your prospects' eyes. That's the most important thing, right?
Yeah.
Is they see you differently, and that's one of the beauties of that.
Well, the other thing too, Craig, is when you focus, things just get easier, right? I was talking
Mhm.
to somebody a couple of weeks ago, and he said when we chose to focus, life got a whole lot easier.
Yeah.
And it's, as a marketer, I talk about that all the time. It was so interesting just to hear it from another business owner that's
Mhm.
not in marketing. It's just when you focus, you have clarity. When you have clarity, you know what your priorities are. You can eliminate distraction. It just focus makes things much, much easier.
It is.
Um,
Yeah, no question. And for your team too, right?
yeah,
Because they're not juggling all sorts of different, inputs, let's
yeah.
say.
When it
Yeah.
gives you a measuring stick too, right?
Uh-huh.
You touched on the personas. When a lead comes in, you guys have this measuring stick so that as you have that conversation, are they checking off the boxes or are they not? And
Mhm.
if they're not checking off the boxes, that's okay, right? You can refer them to somebody else that might be a better fit. Long term, you're doing yourself a favor and them a favor by saying this isn't a good fit.
Yeah, no
So
question. And I think that, what you're describing right there is a certain level of operational maturity that it just takes a while to really for that to hit, but it also
yeah.
takes a while, financially and organizationally to
Hmm.
be in that place, right? Because when
Yeah.
you're just in your early stages of the business, oftentimes it's just, revenues, any revenue is great.
Yeah.
Right. And you're leveraging that. And
Yeah.
but at some point you do have to pick a course, right? You
Yeah.
do have to pick a road to go down a path.
What do you think's been the biggest driver of your growth over the past 30 plus years?
Um Again, I think it's our focus on the client relationship. That might be oversimplified, but one of the things that I think that's really, really unique about us is we really focus on our culture. We really focus on our staff, our people, how we do what we do, hiring and retaining really great people. Um, and so, when you get to a place where you have, a really, really strong team, and everybody's focused and everybody's rowing in the same direction. And again, when I talk about culture, a lot of companies talk about culture, but the culture is around, dare I say, being great. Like
Hmm.
our mantra is IT the way it's supposed to be, right? So internally, our dialogue with each other is we're setting the bar for everybody else. We want to be great. We want to, again, deliver IT the way people should expect IT, not
Yeah.
come to expect IT.
Yeah.
So it's sort of this moving target that everybody, again, if you build a great team and everybody has the character that they want to do great work,
Yeah.
that's what gets delivered. If that's what's the culture, and then ultimately, like you said, when you align yourself with the right clients who appreciate that and value that, it's a win-win,
Yeah.
right? And so I think that's the big thing for us is culture and relationships.
Yeah. There's some really good stuff in there, Craig. I want to pull this out from a culture standpoint, because you're right. A lot of people talk about culture. Where I think they go wrong with culture is in their hiring process.
Mm-hmm.
Do you the default for many businesses is to hire based on skill.
Mm-hmm.
Um, in your hiring process, do you have something baked in where there is that focus on culture so that you attract people that are going to be the right fit for your culture?
Yeah, we do. I mean, and I'm oversimplifying, and it seems like, oh, everything's perfect. It's not. It's a constant work and constant
Yeah.
work and improvement. And it's taken us a while because it used to be no question. Hey, this guy has the chops. We need him. Let's hire him. Okay, and then we find out he just does not mesh with the team,
Yeah.
right? And no matter how great people are, they have to work well with each other. I mean,
Yeah.
that's the bottom line. Again, coming back to the people. Um, so we do a number of different assessments. Certainly, we need to understand their technical expertise and know where their level of capabilities are. I mean, we're a technical company. We deliver
Yeah.
technical services. They have to be doing certain things, right? But at the same time, there's no question over the last 5 years, we've hired people who are less technical than others in that hiring queue, right?
Yeah.
Pool, because the soft skills were way stronger. And the technical you can teach over time. The soft
Yes.
skills are way harder,
Yeah.
right? So, whether it's we use the DISC assessment for every
Mhm.
new hire that we have. We have multiple people interview. So that there's a lot of different sort of ways to ensure that, but that's really a big focus for us now.
Yeah.
I mean, it's as simple as, can I go have a meal with this person? Can I have a beer
Yeah.
with them? Right? I mean, so many
Yeah.
times you hire people that are like, wow, their technical chops are great, but I don't know that I necessarily want to hang with them,
Yeah.
and that ends up, I think, biting us in the butt. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that, because that's what I wanted to pull out. One of the I can't even remember where I heard this, but it always stuck with me was, hire for culture and fit
Mm-hmm.
first and skills second, because we can level up people's skills, but you can't change those soft skills. Like that's in their character, in their nature, and you're not going to change that. Like that's just the way people are. And gosh, in my earlier career, I was a partner in a distribution company, and I just remember there were times where, you said it, like, look, we don't have it all figured out. And the minute we think we have it all figured out, crap goes downhill. We're
Yep.
always working, but I just remember some of the most difficult times I ever had there were when there was people that were not the right fit,
Mm-hmm.
and they were like, honestly, it was like a cancer within the company, and
100%. Yep.
it it just makes life miserable. And the minute you get them out, things, like, literally, honestly, I'm thinking of one case, it was different the following day.
Yeah.
Like
I
everybody.
can picture I can picture two relatively well, one probably about 2 or 3 years ago, and one that was probably 8 years ago. But exactly those, like the clouds parted, the angels were singing. It was like, I literally in one case, somebody who was with us for a long time, and uh, highly technical, highly successful, but you never knew, which person was going to show up that day, the
Yeah.
successful one or the angry one. And it was
Uh,
just a cancer when that finally, and it's hard. It really is hard to let go of somebody
yeah.
who technically is delivering, but is alienating, 80% of your team.
Yeah. Yeah. It's,
Yeah.
I think most people listening can relate to this. It's just it's a really tough spot to be in.
Yeah.
I want to shift gears a little bit. You kind of touched on this with tools on the marketing side. There's so many marketing tools out there. And I think we need to be, automation is great. We certainly need to be careful with automation. I think there are some things that we we don't want to scale, right? Some of the things that
Mhm.
we do work really well, and they just can't scale. But you touched on tools and how it's helping you be more efficient with some of your marketing. Can you touch on some of the things that you're doing that you found have been really helpful for you?
Um, yeah, I mean, a couple of different things. Like I mentioned, HubSpot is
Yeah.
is big, and we didn't even talk about the automation within HubSpot and the workflows. So,
Yeah.
for instance, when a new prospect, comes to our site, we have a workflow in terms of emails that go out, right? So
Yeah.
initial intro, and then maybe a couple of weeks later another one, and then a week later another one, depending on what their activity is like and their persona. So all of those follow-ups can be, fairly automated. So
Yeah.
that's a big plus. The second piece I would tell you, and this is probably my hidden gem, really, is there's a program out there called Smarter Q. It's all one word, Smarter Q. And Q is spelled out Queue. I think it might be from England or Europe or something like that.
Okay.
But if anybody's familiar with Hootsuite, which is an
Yeah.
social media automation platform, I used to use it all the time. The problem with Hootsuite was, in terms of automation, you could only technically you could upload a set of posts and it would run those posts, and then when it runs out, you're done. And then so
Yeah.
you'd have to create more. What Smarter Queue allows you to do is create, with different triggers, with different groupings, with different platforms, um, a way to schedule all of these different posts out. And so it never ends. That's the beauty of the evergreen content. Um, when you don't have a lot of content, it's probably not the best thing because you're just
Yeah.
going to be, looping through things that people are very familiar with. And after a
Yeah.
while, they're going to go, oh, this is automation because I saw this over the last 5 days, right? Or whatever. As opposed to if I have 400 blog articles and I can post security ones on Tuesdays, and I can post podcasts on every other Thursday, and
Yeah.
this social media, do this over at LinkedIn and do this over at Twitter and do this on Instagram. Um, and when you have that much content, the likelihood that I can't tell you how many times people go, wow, you're really busy on LinkedIn. How do you get it all done? It's like, I don't, I
Man.
work. I don't do anything. So that
Yeah.
that
So
would be my nugget, is like, check out Smarter Q. It took me a while to find something like that, but once I did, it was like, oh my God.
it helps.
It's great. Yeah.
Do you and with HubSpot,
Mm-hmm.
you're also able to track how much traffic is coming from that social activity to
Mm-hmm.
back to your website,
Right.
which is awesome. I mean, it's super important, right? Because there's a lot of
Right.
people that are posting on social, but they're not tracking, like, is anything happening from this activity, right?
Right.
Whereas because of the tool sets that you're using, you have the ability to track that, which gives you the data, the information that you need to determine, like, hey, is this working or is it not?
Right.
Which
Exactly.
I love. The other thing that I would add to this, like I said at the beginning of this question, there's so many tools out there.
Mhm.
Whenever people ask, like, what should I be using, I always default to the tool that you understand it's easy for you to use is the one
Right.
that you should use. I don't care if it's the best tool out there or not. Because if you don't understand the tool, you're not going to use it
You're not going to
effectively.
use it. Right.
Yeah.
100%.
You know, HubSpot is fantastic. It's working well for you, I think, because you're pretty technical. There's a lot of moving pieces there.
There's a
And,
it's
right?
it's not an entry level system.
No,
There are
no.
many systems that can do what it does. One, easier, and two, cheaper.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
But
if it makes sense to you, cool. Then you're in your case, you're doing a great job using it. But if it's difficult for you to use, you're just going to give up and move on. So,
right.
and frankly, especially with marketing tools, there are so many features that a lot of these offer. And it's, I kind of think about, like, a while back, I bought this high-end washing machine that had all these different settings. And I was like, oh, this is going to be so great. You know how many settings I use? I use one.
Right. Exactly.
So yeah,
Right.
exactly. What's the easiest way to wash these clothes and not ruin them? That's the one I'm going to choose. So we think all these bells and whistles are great, when in reality, a lot of the times we only use 10%. So should be easy. This has been an awesome interview, Craig. I want to ask you just a couple quick questions. What's next? Like, what are your priorities for 2023?
Yeah. So, well, couple. The interesting thing is we just recently, even though it's February, really got dialed in on what our goals and initiatives are. So, for us, really, it's about continuing to deliver high quality service to our clients, but really focusing in two areas. One is the cloud, and getting a lot of clients moved to the cloud where it makes sense. Again, very similar mindset that you mentioned in terms of the tool. It's like, it's got to work. It's got to make sense. We're pretty agnostic when it comes to cloud, on-prem, hybrid. It's like, it's got to make sense for the client's business, whatever that is.
Yeah.
And then second to that is really even more focus on cybersecurity. Those two things are huge, not only for us, but for our clients. And cybersecurity, is just, it's the next level, right?
Yeah.
We have to protect our clients, and they have, again, we do a lot of work with professional service firms. And so a lot of this is about reputation protection, right?
Oh yeah. Yep. They
So
have a lot of valuable data, right?
yeah, no question. Right. So for us, that's the focus. Now, on top of that, obviously, is how to grow the business, and how to, I like to say our business is sort of like a Ponzi scheme, but it's not a scheme. It's, just keep hiring, get new clients, hire great people, promote from within, and give people opportunities to grow, and, create a bigger pyramid. But like I said, it's, like a Ponzi scheme, but not a scheme.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, knowing what you know now, anything that you do differently?
Yeah, no question. I mean, and I'll frame this in with sort of the guise of, I don't really like to look back with regrets.
Yeah.
I like, because however we got to this place, if I changed anything, I might not be in this place.
Right.
So I really don't like to think about it in those terms. But that being said, definitely the one thing that I would say is, I wish I had started personal development sooner. Like, I wish I read more and developed more. And I mean, I probably really started working on myself and as a leader, and as leader of the business, probably in my mid 40s.
Yeah.
When, God, if I was doing like I have two sons, but one of them just graduated college, and he's just a voracious reader, and he probably learns more from reading than from school, right?
Yeah.
And I wish I had done that in my early 20s, right? I mean, I think it's just such a great habit, is how do, it's sort of that oxygen mask mentality, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, put it on yourself first, and then you can help others.
Yes. Yeah. That's so funny you say that, because I was thinking about that as you were going into that. I think it's so interesting too that you bring this up. Because honestly, not a lot of people talk about that. I'm the exact same way. Like, when I was managing the distribution company I was a partner in, I was in my early, mid, late 20s. Man, personal development was not really on my radar at that point. And
Mm-hmm.
I think had it been, um, I definitely would have done some things differently. And I think that they would have been more effective. Again, it's not that I look back on that and regret it,
Right.
but where I am now, I can see much more clearly some of the mistakes that I made that,
Mm-hmm.
um, had I been where I am now, I would have done it differently. And I think that
Right. I think
it's natural.
it to me, it's like it just, if I had started sooner, it just might have shortened the runway to
Yeah.
get to wherever I was going, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Uh, that's sort of the way that I would look at that.
Yeah. It would have helped you get to where you wanted to be faster.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
I
with a
love
little
it.
less stress along the way.
Right. Right. Yes.
Yeah.
Craig, this has been awesome, man. Thank you for taking the time. Where can people learn more about you?
Yeah. So, our website, www.fpainc.com, LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook, we're literally, all over, but
Okay.
FPA
Cool.
Inc. Yeah.
Yep. FPA Inc.
Appreciate it.
We'll make sure that link and your other links are in the show notes. So if people want to connect with you, reach out to Craig. I have enjoyed chatting with you and connecting with you a couple times now. So thank you again for doing that. For
Yeah,
those
no
of you
problem.
that are watching, listening, we appreciate you doing so. We've been talking about, revenue growth, growing your company. If you want to grow, you've got to remove those revenue roadblocks. If you want to know which of the 9 revenue roadblocks are slowing down your growth, check out revenueroadblockscorecard.com. You can always connect with us as well over at rialtomarketing.com too. So thank you so much. Till next time, take care.